The soft light of the desk lamp created a warm atmosphere in my studio, illuminating the mess of papers and sketches scattered on the wooden surface. I sat in the midst of creative chaos, my fingers stained with ink, and I carefully brought to life the characters that danced in my imagination. For many years, I have lived a double life, shrouded in mystery and deception. Although Ben, my husband, thought I was an artist barely making ends meet, the truth was very different. Behind closed doors, I was Katie Sloan, a successful illustrator and author of children's books whose work graced the shelves of bookstores across the country. The burden of my deception weighed heavily on me, a silent burden that I carried from day to day. Guilt gnawed at the edges of my conscience, but the fear of Ben's assessment and condemnation kept me from admitting the truth. I couldn't bear the thought of disappointing him or destroying the illusion of our marriage. As the hours passed, I was lost in the rhythmic strokes of the pen, finding solace in creativity. But there was a sense of unease beneath the surface, an annoying voice whispering about the consequences of my deception. Suddenly, the silence of the studio was broken by the sound of the front door opening. Ben's footsteps echoed down the hallway, getting closer every moment. Panic gripped my chest as I tried to hide my work. Guilt over my secret threatened to suffocate me. "Melanie, are you home?" Ben's voice rang out, and there was weariness in his tone. I forced a smile when he appeared in the doorway, his tired eyes meeting mine with a hint of concern. "Hi, Ben." "Yes, I'm here. I'm just working on sketches for a new project." Ben's gaze lingered on the scattered papers, and then nodded understandingly. "Well, don't work late. Dinner is almost ready." When he turned to leave, I felt the weight of my deception pressing down on me again. The truth loomed like a ghost in the corner of the room, a silent reminder of the secrets I was hiding. "Ben," I called, my voice barely above a whisper, "I need to tell you something." He paused and turned to me, frowning. "What is it, Melanie?" But the words stuck in my throat, strangled by the fear that held me captive. Shaking my head, I forced a smile, hiding the truth behind a facade of normality. "It doesn't matter," I said, "the weight of my secret is heavier than ever before." The evening sun had sunk below the horizon, casting long shadows across the living room as Ben walked through the front door. His presence filled the space with a sense of tension. His usual warmth was replaced by a tangible distance. I watched from the kitchen as Ben approached, his footsteps heavy on the wooden floor. Something in his behavior made my heart beat faster. A feeling of anxiety covered me like a veil. "Melanie," he said, his voice lacking its usual warmth, "we need to talk." I turned to face him, my hands shaking slightly as I wiped them with a kitchen towel. "What's wrong, Ben?" "Everything is fine." He hesitated for a moment, his gaze fixed somewhere over my shoulder. "I've been thinking a lot lately, Melanie, about us, about our marriage." The weight of his words hung in the air, a silent condemnation of the life we had built together. Panic gripped my chest as I searched his face for any sign of confidence, but all I found was the cold detachment of a stranger. I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He reached into his pocket, took out a small card, and handed it to me with a sense of finality. "I met with a lawyer today, Melanie. I want a divorce." Those words hit me like a punch in the gut, knocking the breath out of my lungs as I struggled to make sense of them. A divorce. The thought seemed unthinkable, a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I took the card from his outstretched hand, my fingers numb as I traced the embossed letters. The reality of our impending separation loomed like a ghost in the corner of the room, casting a shadow over everything we had in common. Without saying a word, Ben turned and walked away, leaving me alone in the silence of our house. The sound of his footsteps echoed down the hallway, each one a painful reminder of the gulf that now stretched between us. "Ben, wait," I called, desperation creeping into my voice. "Please, let's talk about this." But he did not turn back. His determination was unshakable as he disappeared into the depths of our common space. Tears welled up in my eyes as I watched him leave, the weight of his decision crushing me under its weight. Alone in silence, I clutched the divorce lawyer's card to my chest. The reality of our ruined marriage wrapped me in a heavy blanket. The sudden end of our life together made me stagger, drifting in a sea of uncertainty and heartache. The days blurred together in a haze of disbelief and heartache as I watched Ben move on with callous disregard for the life we once shared. The sting of betrayal has sunk deep, like a knife, into the wound of our ruined marriage. I couldn't shake the feeling of disbelief that gripped me, the realization that Ben had chosen my childhood friend Lucy as his new partner, gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. How could he replace me so easily with someone who was so close to home? Lucy, with her infectious laugh and easy charm, has been a constant presence in my life since childhood. We shared secrets and dreams, weathered the storms of adolescence together, and created a bond that I thought was unbreakable. And her marriage to Ryan always seemed happy to me. We were family friends and spent a lot of time together. But now, seeing how Ben and Lucy were together, and Ian and I were trampled by their betrayal, it became disgusting to the point of nausea from everything that was happening. This situation brought Ian and me together like never before. We united in our grief and tried to support each other. However, as I watched her step into the role of Ben's new wife with a smugness bordering on arrogance, I couldn't help but feel a sense of betrayal that cut deeper than any knife. "Melanie, are you okay?" Ian's voice broke through the haze of my thoughts, his concern evident in the furrowed brows. I forced myself to smile, the facade crumbling under the weight of my grief. "I'm fine, Ian. I'm just thinking about everything." He reached out, his hand was warm on mine, and he squeezed it gently. "You don't have to pretend with me, Melanie. I know it must be hard for you. I'm in the same position myself." Tears welled up in the corners of my eyes as I looked into his knowing gaze. "I never thought he would do this to me, Ian. I never thought that Lucy would betray me and you in this way." Ian's expression softened, his eyes filled with sympathy. "I know, Melanie, but we'll get through this together. We will make them pay for what they have done." His words were like a lifeline in the darkness, a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. When Ian was by my side, I knew that I wasn't alone in my pain, that together we could find a way to heal the wounds left by Ben and Lucy's betrayal. But as the days turned into weeks, and the pain refused to fade, I couldn't get rid of the feeling of bitterness that gripped me. How could they do this to us? How could they give up everything we had in common for their selfish desires? Betrayal cut deep, leaving scars that will never fully heal. And as I watched Ben and Lucy continue to live their lives, I vowed never to forget the pain they caused me, never to forgive the betrayal that destroyed my world. The days stretched into weeks as Ian and I delved into the dark depths of Ben and Lucy's betrayal, determined to uncover the extent of their deception. Every day, the burden of our common mission weighed on us, pushing us forward in search of justice. On a cool autumn day, our efforts bore fruit. A chance encounter led us to the shocking truth hidden under layers of deception. As we looked through the mountain of documents in Ben's office, a glimmer of recognition flashed in his eyes, and his fingers traced the outline of a familiar name. "Melanie," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I think I've found something," Ian said. My heart sped up with anticipation as I leaned closer, my eyes scanning the document spread out in front of us. There, in black and white, lay the evidence of Ben and Lucy's betrayal, a trail of deception and lies that stretched further than I could ever have imagined. "They've been dating for a long time, much earlier than we were informed of the divorce," Ian said, his voice full of anger. "The meeting is secret, behind our backs." My hands trembled as I reached out to touch the incriminating evidence, the weight of the truth covering me with a heavy shroud. How could they deceive us for so long, hide their affair so easily? "We have to stand up to them," I said, and my voice was full of determination. We have to make them pay for what they did. Ian nodded, his jaw clenching resolutely. I agree, but we have to be careful, Melanie. We can't tell them what we've found. As we pondered our next move, a sense of righteous rage burned within me, pushing me forward with a single-minded purpose. Ben and Lucy would pay for their betrayal, of that I was sure. But even as we prepared to confront them, a nagging doubt lingered in the back of my mind. What will we do when the truth is revealed? How do we move forward, getting rid of the wreckage of our ruined lives? What will it give us, and will it calm us down? Only time would tell, but one thing was for sure. Their betrayal would not go unpunished. And when Nayan was by my side, I knew that together we would find a way to achieve the justice that we rightfully deserved. When the truth about Ben and Lucy's betrayal was revealed to us, Ian and I embarked on a path of revenge, fueled by righteous anger and a burning desire for justice. When we gathered together in Ben's office, surrounded by stacks of evidence and whispered plans, a sense of determination enveloped us like a thick fog. We can't let them get away with it, I said, and my voice was laced with rage. They will have to pay for what they did to us. Ian nodded in agreement, his eyes flashing with righteous anger. Absolutely, Melanie, but we have to be smart about this. Together we studied the evidence, spending more and more time together. Communicating with Ian was a relief. Gradually, without noticing it, we became closer, and our conversations no longer revolved around Ben and Lucy. We were good together. We began to let go of our past relationships, and our new relationship filled all the wounds that had been bleeding until recently. We forgot about our revenge plan, and were even glad that this situation brought us together, and we found each other. One day, a few months later, we accidentally bumped into Ben and Lucy in a cafe. They were very surprised that Ian and I were together. It was obvious how unpleasant it was for them, but the most interesting thing was that Ian and I didn't care at all. We were happy. Together with Ian, we moved away from the wreckage of our ruined life and built a new one full of love and mutual understanding. In each other's arms, we found the strength to withstand any upcoming challenges and were ready to accept the promises of tomorrow.